Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 37 of Petey's Awesome Guest Panel. My guest at this time is a true icon, a legend in three different calibers. Not only a voice acting legend, but she is also a legend to all 80s and 90s kids growing up. You may know her from such works as Stormer and Mary Phillips in the original Gem. You may remember her from as RC in the original Transformers. One of my favorite roles she did was as a Dream Chip Gemstone in the Flintstone Kids. And of course, she took part and played Sibella Dracula in what I believe was the greatest Scooby-Doo movie of all time, Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School. She was inducted into the 2017 Transformer Hall of Fame at HasCon. She has worked with many different companies. She's worked with Disney, Warner Brothers, Fox, Nickelodeon, correct. She has worked with, let's see, what else? Hanna-Barbera. And she was also, I'm very proud, I'm very happy to say this, but she worked with Filmation. She is truly one of the best. My guest at this time is Miss Susan Sue Blue. Sue, welcome. How are you today?
I'm good, Pete. Thanks for that incredible introduction. My God, you know more about me than I do.
Anytime, though. I mean, I've been a big fan of your work. When I first saw you as a 2-year-old watching The Simpsons, like
God,
you played Howie, the little boy.
Yes, that's right. That's right. You were just 2 years old. Oh my God.
1990. This was 1992.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, your interviews are great, by the way. I have really liked them, watching them, and so I'm thrilled to be on your show. I'm thrilled to be here with you.
I'm thrilled to have you. You know, if I was a doctor or an oil tycoon, I'd hire you to be my acting coach.
Thank you. I was an acting coach, or I mean, I taught VO classes for years. And then, of course, I kind of wrote the very first book of its kind called Word of Mouth. And there's tons of books now. But anyway, I wanted to find new talent. And so I taught a VO class for quite a while, for years. Even when I was voicing and directing. And I had my own studio in Los Angeles and did classes. And they were fun and wonderful, and I found great people. Jim Cummings took my class early on. D. Bradley Baker took my class early on. Gray Delisle was in it. You know, just great people.
Very cool. Now, before we get into some of your work, though, I do want to. This is going to be a typical cliche question, but
okay.
How did you get your first break or your first start in voice acting?
Okay, so I came out to Los Angeles originally to do sitcoms and be an on-camera actor. And I had done nightclubs, singing. I was a singer also. And during the Vietnam War, I toured with George Jessel during the war and played for all the troops in Da Nang and Quy Nhon and Saigon and all through Vietnam. And when I got back to Los Angeles, and I was guesting on other shows like Simon and Simon and Three's Company, and my agent called me and he said, if you were the Pillsbury Dough Girl, how would you sound? And I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, it's a voiceover, and Pillsbury is looking for the Dough Girl to work alongside of Paul Frees as he plays the doughboy, and we want a dough girl. And I went, man, I don't know. Let's see. Hi, I'm Poppy, the Pillsbury Dough Girl. And the time was right, Peter. I went to audition, and I think they had tried to find somebody for many months in New York and Minneapolis and New York. And my timing was just right. I think they were sick and tired of auditioning, and I walked in and nailed the job. And so that's what initially got me into voiceovers. And then my agent sent me to Hanna-Barbera and Marvel and other places. And I started getting these cartoons, and it was just wonderful. So that was my gateway. The Pillsbury Dough Girl was my gateway into voiceovers.
Very cool. And like, not, I mean, you have done not just many different voiceover works, but you've also done appearances too. Like, what were your memories of doing Three's Company?
Man, it was great. John Ritter was so sweet to me. And, you know, it's funny because cut 2 years later, I directed a show called Clifford, the Big Red Dog.
Oh yeah.
And he was my Clifford. And Henry Winkler was my little bird in it. And these two guys, I even have a picture with their arms around me, Henry Winkler and John Ritter. But Three's Company, it was fun. It was crazy to work alongside Suzanne Summers and Joyce DeWitt. And but uh, I began a really nice friendship with John Ritter. And then of course we did voices together.
It's cool. So you got to work with him not just on live action stuff, but voiceover work.
Absolutely. And Henry Winkler won the Emmy for best voiceover in Clifford the Big Red Dog. So that was cool.
Very cool.
And Lily Tomlin, she won a show that I directed after I wrote Magic School Bus. And Lily Tomlin won Best Actor in that. So it was fun. You know, I'm kind of a jack of all trades. You know, after doing so many cartoons and everything, I saw the directors and I went, I want to do that. I want to sit on the other side of the glass and conduct the actors. And so that's how that came about.
Very cool. And you're definitely not just, you know, a jack of all trades, but you're definitely one of a kind because you're a voice, you're not only like a veteran and legendary voice actress, but you're also a dialogue director, casting director, and voice director. Now, what are the, like, I'm always curious to know this though, because I see this in the credits in any cartoon or any shows, but what are the roles and responsibility as a voice director, casting director, or dialogue director?
Okay. Well, as with me being a dialogue director, I'd also participate in all the casting with the producers. And so I would go through all the casting. I would search out fresh new people. I would search out I would have the great standbys come in and audition. And then the producers would choose those actors for the show. And then I would go in and we would get scripts and I would walk them through, like I'd say, okay, now you're running up a hill. And when you say the words, don't do it, Jimmy, don't do it. I need you running up the hill. So he'd go, okay, don't do it, Jimmy, don't do it. And my job then was to go, okay, I want a little bit more out of breath. Just a little bit more out of breath on that line. And you go, okay, Jimmy, don't do it. You know, after playing our scene, the Transformers, I got to direct Beast Wars, and then I got to direct Frank Welker and Peter in the actual Transformers, the redo of it. So my job is to describe all the action and make the actors think that they're coming up with their own ideas, and let the producers who are sitting behind me, who have an incredible amount of input, I need to keep them happy. I need to keep my actors happy, and I need to get the show done in 4 hours. So it takes a 22-minute show takes about 4 hours to do.
See, and you mentioned Frank Welker. You worked with this gentleman for many projects, Transformers being one of them, but you also worked with him on Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul Schools. What are your memories of working with Frank Welker?
Oh my God. The very first time I worked with Frank Welker was on a show called Fang Face. Ruby Spears, I think that you don't even know this one, Peter. It was a show called Fang Face for Ruby Spears, where Frankie turns in from a teenager into a werewolf, his sidekick and his girlfriend on it. And that's the first time that I met Frankie and worked really in animation. That was my first animated series that I did, show called Fang Face with Frank Welker.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
Now, you've also appeared on Knight Rider. What was your memories of doing Knight Rider?
Man, it was great. I played a stewardess on Knight Rider, and the plane gets hijacked, and I have to keep everybody calm. And um, live action is really fun to do, but it's just not as fun as voice work because I had to wear costumes, I have to put makeup on, and in voiceovers, I can go to work in jeans, I can go to work like this. I have jeans on and a sweatshirt, and I don't have any makeup on. I probably should have for you, but anyway, I
You're,
Knight Rider
you're,
was really fun.
you're very beautiful with or without makeup, Miss Blue.
Thank you, Pete.
Um, I I do want to ask too, like I mean, there's the difference you mentioned, the difference between doing live action shows and voiceover. Like, are there any more like like information like the difference, like, and which did you prefer doing though? Like, as far as, did you prefer doing voice acting more or live action roles?
I really, I came out to Los Angeles to do live action, and I was so fortunate that somebody up above was looking out for me and got me into voiceovers because the work was wonderful for me. It was constant, and I went from show to show and worked with the greats like Wally Burr and Gordon Hunt and, wonderful directors. I really, I really have to admit that voiceovers was never fickle to me like on camera is fickle to an actor. I mean, I could do it, I could still play a kid now if I had to, even at my age, which we won't talk about.
I've seen in a previous interview though, and I shared this on your page too, like how you just ran the gamut with different ages though, like portraying characters. You went from a little like a baby girl to a pre-adolescent boy to a teenage girl to an elderly woman. I thought that was just incredible how you did that.
Oh, Pete, thank you. I was flattered that you put that on. I couldn't believe it. That's an old interview.
You're one voice actress that I have nothing but admiration and respect for because, like, much like the late great Phil Hartman, you could take any role and just turn it into pure gold.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow.
Anytime.
That's really nice of you.
Anytime. And you know what? I think of, like, because there's many people that have done Hanna-Barbera, but as far as female, as far as voice actresses, I think you're like the queen of Hanna-Barbera Productions because you've done so much work for Hanna-Barbera. Like, you were in
I have.
and we're gonna talk about that very soon. I definitely want to get your memories on working on one of my favorite shows too, and it's my first role I've seen you in, and that was The Simpsons as Howie in the episode Moanin' Lisa, where he was the video game enthusiast.
Right. Right. That was a long time ago. It was so fun working with those people. And, I knew Nancy Cartwright really well. And when the Simpsons all formed and I went in and I said, boy, Nancy, you've got a gold mine here. Your little Bart Simpson is going to just take off. And so I was flattered that I got to work on the show. It was over at Fox Studios. And we went all the way over there on a sound stage. And the way we would work as the producers, it was kind of like live action. We would all get up and kind of perform in front of microphones on this big sound stage. It wasn't even like a little studio, and that was really fun. That was fun. They had asked me to come back and do another role the following week. I think I had mentioned this to you. And by that time, I had begged every producer in town to direct. And every producer said, no, you just stay doing voices. That's where you belong. And I said, no, I want to direct. And I had a man by the name of Fred Wolf call me and say, so you want to direct? I said, yeah. He said, well, I've got 5 little shows. Nothing's probably going to come of it, but everybody else has turned it down. So I'm offering it to you for your first directing gig. And I said, what's the show called? I'll do it. And he said, it's a little show called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And that was my first directing gig.
Very cool. And I've had on the show Renee Jacobs, Townsend Coleman, and Cam Clark. They're all just great, awesome people. Much like you, you're a very awesome person. Like, and you know,
Thank you.
absolutely. And um, I
Did
definitely
they, what did they talk about the show and everything?
they,
Did they say how much fun they had?
oh yeah, they said it was a blast. Like I said, I loved, you know, like Cam, Townsend, and Renee's work as Leonardo, Michelangelo, and April O'Neil, respectively. Like I thought they were great, and Pat Fraley, you know, I always sort of view like as, you know, like you and Pat Fraley are like so similar. Like, you know, both legendary actors and actresses, but you were also like teachers too, as far as in the art of voice acting.
Yes. Yeah. And Pat Fraley and I did over 1,000 voices together. I mean, this is what he tells me. I didn't count it, but we've done like 1,000 shows together, Pat and I. And in fact, I cast Pat in Krang on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He didn't even have to audition. He just, I said, he's the perfect guy for this. Fred Wolf says, bring him in. And of course, that was my Pat Fraley story.
So cool. And I definitely got to ask this question because there are like many fans, you know, that I'm definitely going to ask this question to, because you have
Yes.
a huge fan base in both Gem and Transformers, where in Gem
Yes.
you played Stormer and Mary Phillips, and in Transformers you played RC. Your memories on doing both shows?
Wow. Both shows were directed by the late Wally Burr, and he was just a great guy. Doing Gem, I did that with Townsend Coleman. Townsend Coleman was on Gem also. And we had the best time in the studios together. And we had no idea that show would become as successful, you know, as it is. I mean, years later, now there's new casts and new people doing it. And yeah, it was great working with those guys. It was just great. I have such good memories.
Did you have a favorite line that you said as either RC or Stormer?
Oh God, you're putting me on the spot.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
No, that's okay. RC had so many things, so many lines. In fact, I said one line at when I was inducted in the Hall of Fame, and now it's I don't know. You get a little older, you lose your memory a little bit. I can't think of the thing right now. Oh, Optimus, what are you doing? I remember. Forget it. I'm sorry.
No worries. Now, you also did work in the original My Little Ponies, where you were Lofty. Yes. You were Lofty and Grundle. I think that's how you pronounce the name, right? Grundle?
Yes, and I was also Buttons, a little
Yes.
Character called Buttons on it. And that was directed by Jenny McSwain. And I worked alongside Charlie Adler. And it was Russi Taylor, and Frankie was in it, Frank Walker. And, you know, all of us were, it was kind of the mainstay of Marvel. And yeah, boy, that was fun. That was fun. My Little Pony.
You still got it, Sue. You still got it.
Thanks, Pete.
Now, you mentioned before working with Townsend, Pat, and Renee. What were your memories on your time working on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Well, I think the greatest thing was they had, there was another director who had been working on it, and Fred, for some reason, anyway, that didn't work out. So when Fred said, you want to do it? Well, these were my buds. I mean, Townsend Coleman, Cam Clark, Rob Paulson, Renee Jacobs, James Avery.
Barry Gordon.
Barry Gordon, my heart. I love Barry Gordon. They were my good friends that I had worked in the studio alongside. So here I'm coming in as a director and directing them. I was worried. I was nervous on my first day, and I came in and they all just said, go to it. And, you know, it was so natural for me, and they were so gracious with me. And I just grew from that experience. And you know, directed hundreds of shows with them. So we laughed, we cried, we had the best time together on that show. And James Avery, he was great. You know, he was on Prince of Bel-Air, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He played Shredder. And he's no longer with us, but I think of him fondly. And Peter Renaday as Splinter. He was the Splinter the Rat. He was just awesome. And a terrific on-camera actor.
He was also Vernon, right?
Yes. Yes, he was Vernon. That's right. Good for you.
Now, you mentioned so many, like, voice actors and actresses, like, you know, like, you're definitely one of the, like, you know, like, the innovators, like, of voice acting, like, because, like I mentioned earlier, you are a legend to not just myself as a 90s kid, but also 80s kids, too. And one of the shows that I loved, you know, I could be wrong, this could be an 80s show, but I absolutely loved the Paw Paw Bears. What were your memories of doing Princess Paw Paw on the Paw Paw Bears?
Oh my God, in fact, I'm going to walk you over. I think I call it my ego wall. I'm going to bring you to my ego wall. And I think I have a picture of Princess Paw Paw right on my wall. Let's see if you can, okay. Can you see, these are all the characters I did. Can you see those?
Yeah.
Can you see Princess Paw Paw?
Oh, yes, I do.
I'm Princess Paw Paw, and I'm the leader of all the Paw Paws. And can you see Nanny Smurf?
Yep.
Why, you little whippersnapper, I'm gonna give you a bath.
And then another one, can you see Scooby-Doo, Flim Flam?
Mm-hmm.
Flim Flam's the name. I'm gonna change your luck.
And of course, I did that with Vincent Price. It was Vincent Van Ghoul, 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. And there is Jem. Hey guys, I'm pretty outrageous. And then we're moving on to, can you see the Ghostbusters?
Yep, I sure do.
Okay, there's Futura.
Why, hi guys.
She was kind of really sexy and everything.
And then I also did Belfry the Bat on the real Ghostbusters.
But I think one of the favorite things I did ever was, and I don't know, Pete, if you, Stanley the Ugly Duckling.
Oh, wow.
And I played the Ugly Duckling. And there's a song you can find on YouTube called I Like Myself.
I like myself. I like myself.
Anyway, that's a great show. And here is Galaxy High. Can you see her?
I do.
And I was in that cast with the late David Landers, who just passed away. And that was really fun. And so anyway, that gives you a little, I call it my ego wall. It's all of my, there's some Emmy nominations up there, but oh well. So that was that. And now I'll take you back into the room so my dogs don't bark at you.
That was an incredible wall, Miss Blue. I you know, I saw on there you had stuff like The Tank, Land Before Time.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yes. I played a little character on Land Before Time. I directed the movies, but I'm trying to think of some of the characters I played on Land Before Time. Can't remember.
You are definitely a decorated voice actress. Like, you know, you're already a legend. We definitely can say you're a voice acting legend. Even the nominations, you have so many Emmy nominations. You were inducted to the Hall of Fame. You're like one of the best. Like, you know, in short, one of the best voice actresses of all time.
Thank you, Peter. That means the world to me. I think you're wonderful for saying that. Thank you.
I waited a long time to say that because I've been a fan like of your work since, like I said, like when watching The Simpsons, when you were Howie, and I still remember that line you delivered when you said to Homer as Howie, "You got yourself a deal, Fido." when you made Homer bark like a dog.
That's right. Oh, that's funny.
Oh, now I definitely want to talk about, and this is, one of my favorite roles you did, and I believe this was the best Scooby-Doo movie ever. I thought this was better than Zombie Island, Cyber Chase, but it was my favorite movie, and that is Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School, where you played Sibella Dracula, daughter of Count Dracula. Memories of doing that movie.
Well, first of all, I worked with my very dearest friend, Pat Music, on that show, and a dear friend of mine who's not with us anymore, Russi Taylor. And we had a blast. Every time I would do a line, they'd laugh. We'd make some kind of a joke, and then they'd do a line, and I'd laugh. It was a really happy cast. Just loved it. And of course, Pat Music, she is one of my closest friends, and she played Tony Toponi in American Tail for Steven Spielberg. I have to say that. I have to brag about my friends.
And I always thought, like you mentioned, like the cast members, like, ooh, I always thought like you, the late great Russi Taylor, and Marilyn Schleifer, Pat Music, were always the fun five. Like, and Patty, did I say Patty Maloney?
No, but
Patty Maloney.
Very fun. And Marilyn Scheffler, boy, she's in heaven for a long time now. She was really good. Her olive in Popeye was the best olive oil I've ever heard in my life. She was really talented.
And it's so, like, much like you, she ran the gamut with voices, voicing ranges. Like, she went from playing like the high-pitched olive oil to like the gruff, Winnie werewolf.
Oh yeah, she was amazingly talented, really talented. Yeah, she left us way too soon.
And you mentioned Pat, and God rest her soul, because I was a huge fan of Marilyn Schleifer's work, especially on Scooby-Doo Laugh Olympics, which was another show I loved growing up.
Yeah.
She played, I believe, Daisy Dick. She played one of the someone on the Really Rottens team. I'm trying to remember what the name was though.
Yeah, I remember that, and I'm trying to think. Come here, Chloe. I'm taking my little Chloe out. This is Chloe.
Nice to meet you, Chloe.
You go outside, Chloe. I'm interviewing with Peter. Go on. Okay.
Now, you had an all-star cast for the Ghoul School movie. You had Casey Kasem, Don Messick.
Yes, love Casey. Oh, loved Casey. Don Messick, fantastic guy. He did he's a real legend. He was a real legend. And of course, Casey Kasem, a darling human being. Wonderful guy.
I agree. And definitely, one of the best voice acting lead roles he did. And you also, I want to get your opinion on working with the two women in this movie. One played your coach and the headmistress, Miss Grimwood. The other one played the evil, vile Revolta, and that is Glynis John and Ruta Lee, respectively. What were your memories of working with those ladies?
Now I have to be honest with you. They did Ruta Lee and we all met Ruta Lee and Glynis Johns, but they recorded them separately than the three of us. And I don't know why. I think probably they were on a time limit and said, we only have an hour, so get us done, or they didn't want to work with voiceover actors. I'm not sure, but we did not work together.
Did not know that.
Yeah, we were they had recorded separately, and then we came in and recorded. That's done quite often, where the celebrities will come in separately and work. And of course, that wasn't John Ritter and Henry Winkler, and they all came in and worked with the cast. And I directed Carol Channing in a show, and she worked with the cast. And but there were a lot of celebrities that I directed that only wanted to work alone. I think us voice actors intimidated him.
Uh, Sue, like, as you know, before I get into like the question with you know, favorite, like, this more about Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School, let me just say that I'm actually paying homage to you right now because I'm wearing the colors of Sabella right now. I'm wearing my purple shirt just to pay tribute to you.
Yes, you are. I'm so glad.
Did you have a favorite line or favorite scene in Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School that you portrayed though, like as Sabella?
Um, Gosh, they all were so much fun. What was your favorite?
I mean, anytime I got to hear, you know, Sabella say "fantastic" or "you bet I will," like it's always good with me.
You bet I will. Fantastic.
Like I love
Fantastic.
I loved your delivery in that movie though as Sabella, and you got to actually reprise that role along with Pat Music in a show called OKKO Let's Be Heroes. What was
Yeah,
it like doing that show?
that was just last year that they called us in. It was, you know, it was before Lucy passed away, and the three of us got together, and man, it was fun. And Pat said that there was an enormous fan base for for those characters. So I was really thrilled to hear that because I didn't know.
And your characters also got, like, they showed the original design of the Ghoul School characters, but they also redesigned the characters too in Okay, Let's Go. What were your thoughts on the redesign of Sibella Dracula?
I liked the original designs. I was kind of, I wasn't disappointed, but I really kind of like the originals. You know, if it works, don't fix it.
I agree.
I'm
Totally.
kind of a purist.
Now, I did want to ask your memories on working on the Flintstone Kids, where you played the adorable princess-like gemstone, uh, dream chip gemstone.
Dream Chip Gemstone. Yeah. Her key phrase, in fact, I can give this one to you.
Oh, Freddie,
You're adorable. She was this little rich, you know, and she really liked Freddie, and she'd always go around,
oh, Freddie.
you're adorable. It was fun. I loved working on that show. Gordon Hunt directed that. That was at Hanna-Barbera. And Don Messick, they all, you know, everybody was in it who was anybody. So it was really fun playing that.
Very cool. And I'll still remember me and my older sister would watch the Flintstone Kids growing up. I still remember the theme song. It was like, yabba da, yabba da, yabba dabba do. We are the
Flintstone Kids. I know.
Oh.
We are the Flintstone Kids. Yeah, it was fun.
Now, you mentioned Gordon Hunto. He's the gentleman that he was, I believe, on Dilbert. He played Wally on Dilbert, and he's also the father of Helen Hunt, right?
Yes, he is. And he directed, he was the head director at Hanna-Barbera for years. He directed everything. He directed the Smurfs and directed me in the Smurfs. There was another show I did. I'm trying to think of the show where I played Dolly, a dog, and trying to think of the name of the show. And I played Frank Welker's. I was Dolly and he Foofer. It was a series called Foofer. And he was Foofer, this big blue dog. And I was Dolly, his, you know, she looked like Lady from Lady and the Tramp. We did 13 of those.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. See, I named one you didn't know.
Yep, that's true. You did mention Smurfs, though. What were your memories on working on the Smurfs?
The creme de la creme. You know, I came to the show kind of in the latter years of the Smurfs, and the cast was just incredible. Julie Dees, do you remember Julie Dees? She's Rick Dees' wife. Julie used to do a ton of voices, and she was on that show, and Frankie was on that show, and Don Messick was on that show, and
Barry
they all were. Barry Gordon?
Yep, he played Brainy.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Not Barry Gordon. Oh, God. Danny Goldman.
Danny Goldman, pardon me.
That's okay. Danny Goldman played Brainy. Yeah. We lost him this year. Ay, terrible. I know.
I
I
agree.
know. Are you staying safe out there with everything that's going on?
Absolutely. And yourself over there?
Yes. I play golf. I'm a golfer, and so I get out in the fresh air almost every day. But they say, you know, we're very safe on the golf course outside. Who knows? I hope so.
Very cool. And I love golf myself. Like, you know, like it's one of those sports I love. I love golf, tennis. I played tennis in high school.
Are you a golfer?
Whenever I get the chance, I mean, I love playing mini golf though. I mean, I haven't played professional golf, but I always wanted to. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do love golf.
Good. Yeah, it's a great sport.
Now, I got to ask you this too, because I noticed, like, you know, because with any like person I interview, I love to do my research. Now, I noticed you have an uncredited role in Beavis and Butthead Do America. Do you remember what that role was?
I don't. I do remember it, but I can't remember what the name of it is. Isn't that funny?
And it's interesting too, because like when I had Townsend on the show, Townsend on my show too, I mentioned some stuff he did, and he didn't even remember like doing those lines.
Yeah.
Certain shows.
Yeah, boy. I don't either. You know, Townie, it's so funny because he was also my Tick. You know, I cast him as the Tick. He was the best Tick. I know that.
Patrick Warburton.
Patrick Warburton did it, you know, on the television show, and he was fabulous. But Townie was so good.
He was, and also Robbie Paulson, very, very great on that show.
Wonderful on that show. Yep.
And I definitely loved his work too. Like I can name you like 30 voice actors and actresses that I just grew up idolizing, and you know, I loved. I mean, I grew up idolizing like you because I always thought like you were like one of those originators. Like, you know, like before we had like, you know, Debbie Derryberry. Did I say that correctly? Debbie
Derryberry.
Yes. Before we
Yeah,
had
I kind of came, it's funny because I kind of came before all those people.
Yes.
I was kind of in the beginning of it all. Actually, June Foray was before me. She was kind of the real beginning. Lucille Bliss.
Another one.
Yeah, they were before me. And then came my generation of voice actors. And we were, you know, then we had our time. And then Tara Strong and those people, Gray Delisle and Kat Susie, and then they came.
Tress McNeil.
They were next up. Tress McNeil was more in my time.
Ah.
Yeah.
What about Nancy Cartwright? Your time?
My time.
Okay. And what about E.G. Daly?
More Cass Susie time, Tara Strong time.
With the late great Christine Cavanaugh, right?
Oh, yes, yes, yeah. She's gone now, huh?
Sadly, like she passed away in 2014, I believe, and from what the sources were saying, it was because of leukemia.
Oh,
I
loved her. She was really talented, Chris Cavanaugh.
I agree. Like I loved her in Darkwing Duck, Rugrats. She was great.
Yeah, she was the original Babe.
Yes.
The voice of Babe.
And then ironically, her Rugrats co-star, E.G. Daly took over the role.
Yes. And she was great in it.
You know who's another name too? Like another one that filled the shoes of Christine Cavanaugh when she retired? Candy Milo.
Oh, Candy's great. Yes, Candy Milo. We did a show together called The Misadventures of Maya and Miguel. And it was for Scholastic. And it was these two little Latino kids, a boy and a girl. And Nika Futterman played the boy, and Candy Milo played the little girl. Isn't that funny?
Very.
And Carlos Alizaraki played the parrot.
Another great. I loved him on Rocko's.
Isn't he great? Yeah.
Well,
this has been great talking with you.
Absolutely. Like, you know, I feel like You know, like the old expression, like, you know, I feel like a kid in the candy store. I feel more like that kid growing up in the 90s, going to Blockbuster Video, renting out some of the stuff that you have, like, that you were part of.
Oh, wow. Thank you. You have made my day.
You made mine with this interview because I grew up like idolizing you since I was a kid. Like, you know, the voice acting thing, like I said, every Halloween tradition, Cartoon Network would always run Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School, and I would watch that every single year on Halloween time.
Wow. Well, you're a doll, and this is great that you're doing this.
Absolutely. It gives me an opportunity to speak to the people. Like, I mean, the premise of like the whole my interview was just to interview people I grew up idolizing and watching, you know, as a child, like growing
Right,
up.
right. And then you put it, and then you've got a nice little fan base yourself.
It's a growing, like, you know, it's definitely not like on yours. I mean, you like there you have so many fans around the world though. Like when I shared that video like on your page, like almost over 40 people liked it though. You have a huge fan base, Miss Blue.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. Well, it's nice. It makes me feel good.
Well, you're definitely not just, you know, like a voice actor legend. I mean, I sound like a broken record saying that, but it's true. Like, you know, you were so part of so many things, like growing up, like watching, like, you know, even if it was like small parts, like on The Simpsons, like it's still memorable. Like I'll still
Yeah.
remember this to this day. Like all those roles, like Sibella, like Dream Chip. Did I say that correctly?
Yep. Dream Chip Gemstone.
Dream Chip, like Princess Paw Paw. Like I'm thinking to myself, this woman is definitely one of the best. In short, one of the best voice actresses of all time. Top 5 for me in the June Foray, Lucille Bliss, you know, Trust McNeil category.
Wow, I'm throwing you kisses.
And that's a total honor though. Like, you know, because I grew up like idolizing you since I was a child. Um, I do want to get your opinion though, because you worked with many companies over the years, animation companies. Like I said in the introduction, you worked
Right.
with Nickelodeon, Disney, Warner Brothers, Hanna-Barbera, and you're the first ever person I've interviewed that actually worked with a company I actually liked, you know, and that is Filmation. What were your
Yes.
on working with Filmation?
Yeah, Lou Scheimer was the president of Filmation, and what was so great at the time is we would go in and do 65 episodes of a show. Again, I did the real Ghostbusters over there. That's where I played Futura and Belfry the Bat and Jessica, these 3 characters. And then Brave Star, which was just a great show. I did with Pat Fraley. I was Judge JB was my name. Played the judge on that show. And Charlie Adler was on that show. Remember a wonderful actress named Linda Gary?
Yes, I have.
She was on that show. And I did that one. I did the real Ghostbusters, Brave Star, and there was another big one I did. It was like 365 episode shows, and it was so wonderful and to work, because the artists, they would sit, there would be glass and you'd walk out and all the animators were animating, because Lou was trying to keep all the work in this country. So it was really exciting.
And Lou actually did the voice of Dumb Donald in the original Fat Albert.
Yeah, and his daughter, Erica Scheimer, directed us and did some voices.
Very cool. And
yeah,
I gotta ask too, so did you take part in the final, I believe this was the final Filmation movie produced, and that was the Snow White unofficial sequel, Happily Ever After?
I didn't. I wasn't in it. Didn't
Okay.
have any involvement in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, we mentioned all those you know, animation companies you work for. I always wondered, was there a difference between like working with each company? Like, was Nickelodeon different from Hanna-Barbera, or Hanna-Barbera was different from Disney as far as voice?
Yeah, pretty similar. They all were. You know, we'd wait in the lobby, then we'd go in and record. Some studios and some directors wanted to record people by themselves. And of course, now with COVID, you know, people have built their home studios and are recording in their own studios at home and then sending the tracks via email to the producers and animators to be, so that different actors who aren't acting together, they make it sound like they are. So it's good.
Interesting. I do have a couple of more questions before we conclude our
Okay.
interview. I want to get your memories on working on Our Real Monsters, Nickelodeon's 90s cartoon Our Real Monsters.
Wow. It's kind of hard for me to remember that one. You know, fun, good. What did I play on that?
You played, I believe there was a role you did where you played a little boy, and then you did like a mother.
Right.
I'm just trying to remember what episode that was though. Like I saw like when I did the research that you were in the episode as a little boy, as one character, and a mother.
Wow. Boy, it's hard, Peter, it's hard for me to remember that. Sorry.
It's okay. No worries.
But I love Nickelodeon. It's a great studio.
I love Nickelodeon growing up as a kid. I definitely want to get your opinion because you not only did voice acting for animation stuff, but you also did voice acting for video games. And I would like to know like your opinion and your memories on doing the game Army Men.
Loved it. I played a character I think called Vicky on Army Men, and it was grueling work because I would have to say different things because of the game in 100 different ways, the same line and different lines. And games, to me, they're phenomenal and they're fabulous, but it's hard work for a voice actor. It's tough work because you have to go into so many parts of the game and do different things within that game, but the same lines. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I definitely want to say too, like that you're like one of those rare, like first time voice actresses where like they provide not just a voice of female characters but male characters too. We really never. I mean, June Foray, yes, did it with Rocky and Bullwinkle, and Tress MacNeille done it a lot too. But like you ran the gamut with different voice ranges, like, and I definitely thought you were an innovator of like that type of style at the time though, because you just did the whole. You brought in the horizons of voice acting. It wasn't just female characters; it was male characters too.
Yeah, I did a lot. I kind of specialized in doing all sorts of little boy voices and little girl voices. And then they'd throw me the mother and they'd throw me the secretary or the talk show host or, whatever. But yeah, I pretty much ran the gamut during that time with doing all the kids' voices.
Very cool. And now, with Sue, with any guest though, like, before we conclude, like, I always like, allow and all my guests, like, this is the time where, because this is an open forum, I allow any of my guests to talk about anything they want. They can express anything they want. The floor is now yours, Sue.
Wow. I think we've covered most everything. This is such an up moment for me because, we've kind of been in isolation in a way. And out here in California, we're going back into isolation because of COVID. And, mainly I'm so grateful that I have fans and that I can, I try and answer all the letters and I try and send the autographs and I probably shouldn't say this, but I mean, I don't charge for anything. I'm just so grateful that I have a fan base and that'll be with me through eternity. That's basically what I wanted to say. Very grateful to all of the people out there who know who I am.
Very cool. And you are not, like loved by many people. Like we have so much fan. Like I've had so many like friends of mine tell me, you're interviewing Sue Ghoul. I loved her. Like I loved her in Transformers. I loved her in Gem. Like, like I said, yeah, I'm excited about this interview because I grew up idolizing, like as far as voice acting was, because I always wanted to be like, I'm always doing like myself as an aspiring like voice actor. I always wanted to be a voice actor, and definitely one of my biggest influence will always be you, like you, Billy West, Phil Hartman, like all the names, like Tara Strong, you know, Charlie Adler, like Brian
Yeah.
Cummins, Jim Cummins, even Brad Garrett in Two Stupid Dogs, like,
Yes, Brad Garrett.
and,
He's-
and Jess Harnell.
oh, Jesse. I love Jess Harnell.
Me,
He's great.
me too. Like, and
Have you interviewed Charlie Adler yet?
I tried to get him, like, not, I haven't heard from him yet, though. Like, there's so far, the only voice actors I've gotten so far on my show have been, well, you right now. I've had Townsend, Cam Clark, Renee Jacobs, Justin Shankaro, who played Harold, and among other
Right.
characters on Hey Arnold. Who else did I have? I had Roger Bumpus, who played Squidward on SpongeBob. Among
Right.
other stuff, like he was in Where in the World is Carmen San Diego.
Right.
Who else did I have? I'm just trying to run the gap. I'm just trying to remember who I else had though. Like,
Yeah, you've got a lot of them.
yeah, and like, you know, honored and such, and much like them, but it's a true to honor and pleasure interviewing you because I've been a fan of yours since I was a 2-year-old lad.
Thank you, baby. I appreciate that.
Anytime. And you know what? I gotta say thank you for not only this interview, but thank you for those childhood memories you gave me, you know, watching all the stuff, whether it was Flintstone Kids, Stabella and Scooby-Doo in the Ghoul School, you know, among other stuff, like Simpsons as Howie and one of Nelson's henchmen. Uh, again, I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but you are simply one of the best voice actors in history.
Wow, let's leave it at that. I love that.
I could say so much. I will be blue in the face, and I'm not even on page 1. I'm not even finished with page 1 yet.
Hey, thank you so much.
No problem. And I'm gonna send you a copy of this interview. Like,
Oh,
I'll send
good.
a link to it. I'm gonna send you as soon as it's done editing. This will be up, running on YouTube within not even an hour.
Oh, good. I'd love to see it.
And I appreciate this interview so much. And if I was at that HasCon 2017, I'd be the first one in that crowd chanting, "Thank you, Sue Blue. Thank you, Sue Blue."
Hey, love you. You're just
Love you too.
fabulous.
I mean, again, this was such a true to honor and pleasure. Thank you so much, Ms. Blue.
Thank you so much.
You have an awesome night.
You too. And I'll message you my address.
Okay, for the holiday card, right?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
All right, honey.
Okay, take care, my friend.
Bye.
Bye.